All right, in 10.1, the first thing we learn about is classifying angles. Classifying angles as either acute, which means that their measure is less than 90, obtuse, which means that the measure is more than 90 degrees, a right angle, that's measure is 90 degrees, and it's always indicated with a shaded box in the angle. And then you have a straight angle, and that measure is 180 degrees. So anytime you see a straight line, the measure of that line, or in this case angle, would be 180 degrees. All right, so now that carries over into example 1. In example 1, the key word here is estimate. So I'm just guessing, but I can use my 90-degree angle as a base. Is the angle, does it look like it's greater than or less than 90 degrees? So in the top left one, do you think that's obtuse, acute, right, or straight? Obtuse. Obtuse, very good. What about the top right? Acute, very good. What about bottom left? Straight, and then bottom right? Very good. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to copy this down in your notes, but you just need to be able to identify the type of angle by estimating. Again, you're using 90 degrees as a baseline. Is it greater than? If it is, it's obtuse. Is it less than? If it is, it's acute. Okay, so you have a couple problems like that on your homework. You could see that on a quiz or a test. Now, before we get into example 2, I want you to write down these two terms. We have complementary angles, and these angles, it's two angles, and their measures add up to 90 degrees. Exactly. It's not 89, it's not 91, it's exactly 90 degrees. Their measures add to 90. Then you have angles that are called supplementary angles. And these angles, again, it's two angles, and their measures add up to 180 degrees. Now, again, it's not 179, it's not 181, it has to be exactly 180 degrees. And I would call them supplementary angles. What else has a measure of 180 degrees? What else has a measure of, Chandler? A straight line. So supplementary angles are going to lie on a straight line, and you'll see that in a minute. Okay, so there is a connection there. All right, so now let's work example 2. In example 2, it tells me to tell whether the angles are complementary, supplementary, or neither. Remember, their measures have to add to what if they're complementary? 90. And what if they're supplementary? 180. Okay, so let's look and see. So we have 32 plus 58. And what's 32 plus 58? 90. It's 90. So I would say that they are complementary. And I'm going to abbreviate. It's okay to abbreviate COMP for complementary. All right, now for the second one, I have 79 plus 101. And that gives me what? 180. Which would be supplementary. Now, what if you were to add the angles and it came up to 80? What would your answer be? It would be neither. So you would add them together, you would say 80, and then you would say neither. Okay, so if it's not exactly 90 or 180, if it's any other measure, then it will just be neither complementary nor supplementary. Okay? All right, now in example 3, we're using supplementary angles to solve for the unknown angle measure. All right, so I'm going to ask you one more time. If angles are supplementary, what do their measures add to? And they add to 180. So if I know, and go ahead and turn to page 476 so you can look at the lounge chair example with me. If I know the measure of one of the angles, I can subtract it from 180 because I know they're supplementary to find the measure of the angle that I don't know. All right, so in this case, the measure of angle 1 is 130, so I'm going to say 180 minus 130 equals 50, and here's how I write my answer. The measure of angle 2 equals 50 degrees. And I box that in. The measure of angle 2 equals 50 degrees. Now, what if I had said, well, we'll get to that in a second. All right, so using supplementary angles to find the unknown angle measure. If you know one, you can subtract it if it's supplementary from 180 to find the other. All right, now I want you to do a few practice problems. All right, so I want you to do some of these practice problems on your own. Okay, classify each angle as acute, obtuse, right or straight. I want you on your paper to give an example of two complementary angle measures and give an example of two supplementary angle measures. There's a lot of combinations you could choose, so just choose one. And then I want you to do number 6 and 7 on the bottom of page 476. Okay, so class, 64 degrees. What type of angle? Acute, very good. 140. Obtuse, 180. Straight, and 90. Right, very good. All right, someone raise your hand and tell me what's an example of two complementary angles. Ethan?
51 and 39.
Okay, 51 and 39 because they add to 90. Jonathan?
50 and 40.
Okay, 50 and 40. Any others? 60 and 30. Any others? 70 and 20, 80 and 10, 45 and 45, 89 and 1. Now, can you have 90 and 0? Can you have an angle measure of 0? No, you can't. Okay? So, in that case, those could not be complementary. All right, what about supplementary? What are two supplementary angle measures? Anna?
90 and 90.
90 and 90. Any others that you can think of? Vanessa? Two angles that add up to 180? 179 and 1. Okay. John?
154 and 26.
Okay, 154 and 26.
178 and 2.
Okay, 178 and 2, obviously. So any two angles that where their measures add to 180, those are supplementary. All right, now in number 6, here's the key. It says angles D and E are what? They're what? They're supplementary. So I know I'm subtracting from what? I'm subtracting from 180. And what's the angle measure that I know? I know one of them is 84. So I subtract to find 96. So the measure of angle E is 96 degrees. And I box the entire thing as my answer. Now, in number 7, it says the angles R and S are what? No. Complementary. So what do they add to?
90.
They add to 90. Okay, what's the angle that I know?
9.
So I subtract to find 81. The measure of angle R is 81 degrees. Okay? And that's how I would solve that. If you understand that, that's everything you need to know for 10.1.